Okay, well, picture it about 1985. First went to a psychiatric hospital for first time. It was private rather than a state-run. Now, insurance wouldn't pay for the hospitalization based on my true diagnosis, so the doctor had to come up with a fake one, just so the insurance would accept that as a legitimate reason to pay for my hospitalization. Unfortunately, the other doctors and therapists actually took it seriously, and so when I told them what it really was, they didn't believe it, and they just denied it and said, no, that wasn't it, it's actually this other one. And part of it is they couldn't imagine that someone that had such a lucid, coherent vocabulary could possibly have that diagnosis that I told them I had. So they used therapeutic methods based on what they mistakenly thought I had. And when those didn't work, instead of them thinking, well, maybe we're using the wrong methods, they simply had the attitude, I'm resisting therapy. And that cliche that's been repeated over, it's not, you're resisting therapy, you got it. Anyway, 86, I was in the same hospital again for similar purposes. Both times taught myself and some relatives that wasn't going to work. It was those relatives who found a doctor practicing alternative medicine in Monrovia, California. He prescribed this alternative medicine, only one of which, the name of which I remember was called Neurotrophin. The other ones, I don't remember because it was so long ago. But I took a combination of Neurotrophin and other medications, and they succeeded in, well, improving the, where the methods of therapy in the hospital stay had failed. Now, I took that for a while. While I was taking that, my mother happened to discover somebody practicing a method of therapy called neurofeedback, which is why I want to put a plug in for this, neurofeedback. And the person I saw was a lady, a psychoneurophysiologist named Margaret Ayers, and here's her picture right here. You can get a good shot of that. She was a psychoneurophysiologist who I visited and had appointments with. She practiced neurofeedback training on me. That's more sophisticated than biofeedback. Neurofeedback trains the brain to retrain its own brain waves. And so I would take long bus rides from East LA County all the way into Beverly Hills just to keep the appointments, and those were expensive bus rides. But that also made an improvement in addition to taking the Neurotrophin. After a while I stopped with that, but then returned to that back in the early 90s. Then I stopped taking the Neurotrophin because it was felt that as well as it worked, it has gone as far as it could go in being effective, so we had to look for alternatives. My mom then discovered a place, Buena Park, California, near Knott's Berry Farm. Buena Park, there was this place, they practiced a kind of therapy in which they reduce the hyperauditory hearing symptoms. I've had hyperauditory hearing my whole life. This therapy in Buena Park, California, helped to reduce the hyperauditory symptoms so that I didn't have to continuously wear foam earplugs all the time like I actually should have been doing from the beginning, but I hadn't. Now, all of this is really more tied to a theme that I got improved. As to whether I got better or not, I'm going to leave that to posterity. Now, as for ending on a positive note about this, the only way we could do that is on a major key harmony. And so, I would think other ways that I've dealt with this, actually, I create humor in music. But I was doing that before I got hospitalized, and even during and afterwards. I create humor in music and whatever else as vicarious drugs, basically, but that turned out to be not quite enough. That's why we had to find the alternatives. But I still do it anyway because I have too many good ideas that are not worth not writing down or typing out, as in some cases. And I'm still doing it as a vicarious narcotic, basically it just comes down to a matter of making, like gradual improvement. Whether it's better or not, that's a matter of comparative perspective, which is why I leave it to posterity. At this point, that's the other problem. I have difficult with spontaneity. That's why there's blank pauses. I've become more and more improved with spontaneous responses and dealing with spontaneity as time has gone on. Partially, I attribute that to the alternative methods that have helped in the past. Part of it also is increasing self-awareness of my own limitations and other things, and recognizing not only that I had those as limitations, but also that in some cases I had to just learn to accept them because there was nothing that can be done about them. And learn that one, not only was that just simply a fact that it just had to be accepted, but also there was really no embarrassment or humiliation required for recognizing and accepting those. Unfortunately, I'm still in some ways dealing with that because what I've been looking for my whole life is kind of this non-judgmental, unconditional acceptance from the outside world. And unfortunately, I haven't entirely found that, which basically tells me I'm here at the wrong place at the wrong time in this time and place. But